Welcome to Sister Science Stories. I'm Jill Novak. I am an Ayurveda health counselor and yoga educator. Here at Sister Science, we explore how a strong connection to your inner wisdom is essential to your well-being. We're blending the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda and yoga with the demands of modern life, honoring the whole time this deep connection to ourselves, to the natural world around us, and the divine. In each episode, we dive into lifestyle choices, mindsets, patterns that shape how we live, helping you align with your true self. Whether it's movement or sleep, nourishment, energy management, ancient wisdom has solutions for us. We just need to listen. This podcast is here to open your awareness to what holistic healing can look like. Let's take a deep breath. Exhale, let go of anything that needs to let go, and dive into this juicy stuff. Welcome, Lucas.
I'm coming back.
Welcome back to Sister Science Stories, everyone. We explore that sacred meeting place here between the Sister Science and the Mr. Science, the sacred meeting place of mind, body, and spirit. And in many ways, that's what Lucas has done. And I'm joined today by my friend Lucas Arnatt, and he's the creator of Seventh Breath Yoga. It's a modern yoga system, and it blends conscious breath, mantra, sacred geometry, and the number 7. And what fascinates me about Lucas's work is how it gives shape to something that is invisible. It's that feminine, mysterious, unknown, and you've found a way to bring it into a concrete form, the masculine. And I don't know, to take this unseen inspiration and bring it into fruition. And you're using breath and movement to do that. So super excited to chat with you about that and the process of doing that. I just want to explore. So I think my first question, Lucas, is take us back to the moment or to the time when this seventh breath yoga was coming through you, or when you were putting puzzle pieces together. What was that like?
Yeah. So interestingly, it started at Alchemy in a class run by Jody, the chemistry. And she during her kind of dialogue throughout the class at one point, she said it a couple times, and it was kind of one of those little seeds that were planted. She said that her teacher had told her that if you can hold a yoga pose for 7 breaths, then you can be considered to have an adequate understanding of that pose. And so that was just the seed, right? Like that was, and I think that was like 2018 that came in. And as it is with seeds, right? They start to, number one, they're there. They settle in, and I nurtured it, I guess, just by continuing with my practice, and then also acknowledging it as to whatever came out from it. And the first feeling that came from it was that it wasn't mine, that it actually spoke to a larger vision that was beyond me. And so, here we are. I published the foundational program in 2019. And here I am just now in 2025, getting classes going, doing workshopping myself, and learning that process of teaching it. And for a number of years, I was trying to find other yoga teachers that would get enthusiastic about it and kind of want to hop in and teach it kind of for me. Because again, I'm more the student side of things. And so, but all of them, they all loved it. They all said, this is a great idea, but it's yours. Mm-hmm. You're the one that needs to bring it forth. And so, when things shut down in 2021, it was 2021 that I started. Basically because I chose to move into my own practice over going to the studio due to restrictions and stuff like that. And so I rented the dome that was south of Cochrane, and so I would go there every Thursday, make the drive there, and take the video cameras down there, and just to start going through my own personal process of it and get some video of the practices that I were doing, right? Never kind of thinking too much forward beyond how that could be used, but to really just kind of get some footage of it and stuff like that to talk about it a bit. And so that was about 3 years worth that I had spent as my own. I mean, it kind of, as things kind of, as the practice imbues you, it it becomes more than something you really have to focus. Like, it just becomes part of you. It becomes part of your actions and your thoughts and things like that, right? And almost like a reflective point where a touchstone, if you will. So um, yeah, so I did that for a few years, and then at this point where I started back doing like my full on practice at Alchemy, basically this time last year, and I'd taken a break. I actually dropped everything, like any yoga practice at all, and just focused on meditation and doing nature walks. And that was a conscious action. It was almost a way to just let go of everything. And so now it's all coming kind of back in, right? As far as that momentum for it. And yeah, so through the beginning of the year, was doing workshops and inviting kind of my friendlies in there to come in and try it out, and for me to learn how to teach it, right? So I guess what I love about it, and this still is very much a vision that's larger than I am. I could see the application of seventh breath really being tied into many different yogic styles. So, and it's interesting, for instance, with my own personal practice when I was doing it on my own. Um, it was more of a flow, more like a vinyasa flow. And then within the group dynamics, we're looking at making creating space really for everyone to have a different breath count, because
right.
and I had a great sampling of friends who would come in, and ones who would have shorter breath count and one that had like super long. And so finding how to make this work so everyone has the support. And so we have kind of like, so it definitely is a slower process or flow, but then it's also that we have these holding positions where people can just sit with it. So it is very much being around the breath. What really resonates for me is that it's a heart-centered practice. It's a very inward practice with the deeper breaths, and we are talking about a complete breath. So like the inhale and the exhale would be at the count of 1, working up to 7, and then we would move out of that. So, and not every pose is a 7 breath count. There would be ones that are transitionary, like maybe like a 3 breath count is kind of, I love the number 3 as well. So numerology is really, I think, a big part of this, as you said, with the magic of the number 7, and it's divine and all of these aspects to it, right? So as I kind of deep dove into the different aspects of what the principles are, and they're very much innate, right? And they're also ancient in that, but combining these ancient practices into something that is contemporary and supports the modern lifestyle in a way, like it's in a way multiplying the effects of these things. And just the other day, kind of in preparation for this, I was looking at the 8 limbs of yoga, and seventh breath really kind of check boxes like 5 out of the 8.
It does.
Yeah. And all of those then lead into the yamas and the niyamas as well.
Absolutely.
So supporting that as that, right? So I definitely I have for a long time kind of walked kind of the yogic lifestyle, as it were, in my own way. And I feel that is a very individual thing, but again, it's also a universal thing. So looking at how that tension is created within ourselves and within the larger scope of our experiences and collective as well. So definitely, as you're feeling around the sister sciences, that now is the time to kind of revisit this, to rediscover these, and to reconnect. Really, is reconnecting to these really tried and true practices, and having awareness around these key points that are really kind of, in a way, our saviors during this time when the Mr. Science out there and the masculine energy of society, which is progress, and focusing on goals that are not necessarily in our best interests, and we're just doing this subconsciously and unconsciously, that now is the time for us to be really kind of stripping things down as a collective. And so that comes with the rebalancing of the masculine and feminine within each of us. And then also then within our partnerships, right? Because relationship is within everything, like it's us and in relationship. So yeah, so that I feel like that's And it really kind of the core of where we are. Yeah.
Gosh,
yeah.
That's a fantastic overview. Thank you so much for that. I have like already a page full of notes. So right at the beginning, when you gave us the idea of the seed that was planted, when in a class, Jody mentioned, if you can hold a pose for 7 breaths, you know a pose. I kind of love that idea too. What a beautiful seed to plant. So often when you are offering yoga, the people who are in the room with you, all you're doing is planting a seed and you don't know what seed it is.
Yeah.
But that's sort of like there's this idea in yoga, let yoga do the work. And I like the fact that in that class, she not only referenced her teacher, but then she planted a seed in you who is to become the next teacher.
Yeah.
And then the way you referenced how I didn't know that this was mine. I thought it was someone else's. Have you heard of the invocation to Patanjali? Yeah. So it's almost like and it's done in Ashtanga classes where at the beginning of the class, there is a Sanskrit invocation to the original yoga teacher, Patanjali. And then the idea of it being passed down from teacher to teacher to teacher to teacher, and that we are all on that lineage somewhere.
Yeah.
So you're just in the lineage now. You're in the lineage now.
Yeah.
There's so much in there. When you talked about kind of taking the years to embody this, I feel like there's even in the yoga community a lot of disembodied teaching. And even that, I don't even know if I mind it, because I think that anytime we come to the mat with intention, with breath, with movement, yoga will do the work. Yoga will bring us to embodiment. So, but the fact that you're coming to the practice from this place of you understand it in the cells of your body already. Yeah. Was there ever times in this process where you had, I don't know, you knew this idea was different. You knew that there was something about this that wrapped, you've said that phrase like around our modern lives.
Yeah.
So there's something right now that you're translating what we've come to know yoga, like going to a studio for an hour on the mat, being led through a bunch of poses. You've got like a take on that translation now that feels very embodied. How did you know that this was different? How did you know that what was coming through you was like a new evolution of this?
Yeah. So that's a really good point, kind of talking about, well, in a way, it was me, as I said, I was kind of embodying it in my personal practice. And so then when I did step into a classroom, then that was always kind of in the back of my mind, or it was something that I would bring into the practice. So I would be in class and I would be doing my best with 7 breath, whether I'd get to 3 or 4, right? And now, so this is the thing. Again, it's no judgment around the current kind of modern classes, but within it, within a usual class is when, say, an instructor is instructing on the first side of the body, it can often take longer than when they get to the other side. And often on the other side, it will be even cut shorter than that. So for instance, it might be like a 4 breath count or 5 on the one side, and then it would be like a 2 or 3 on the other side. And so when you're counting, then you recognize these things. And so again, not judgment, but it's more just awareness around, well, if I'm looking to seek balance, then it makes sense to me to bring in, it could be less than 7 breaths, but of course 7 has a specific resonance to it as well. But the idea being that we're balancing it out, that we're finding equanimity within ourselves, within the practice, and making sure that both sides of the body are getting kind of tuned in the same way, and to find where that also the differences from one side to the other. If you're right dominated, then the left might not be as strong, and so then it just becomes, again, a good touchstone for your own practice internally. Is nothing external about it. It's all that internal recognition. And also then for your progress through, because if, for instance, you're doing camel for 7 breaths, or eagle, or, or half moon, like these are ones that you get into them. You're like, okay, I'm here for a while.
Yeah.
And so then you need to kind of, and so if you fall out of it, right? So this is kind of why during the group ones, I really kind of learned that the priorities of what we're looking at is, one is that we're remaining with the breath. The breath is the core. If you don't have breath within yoga, then it's not yoga. There are some yoga classes that, again, they have their benefits there, and they're really kind of pushing into the physical limit side of things. It's almost more boot campy. And I think it's very easy to lose your breath. And then you're focusing just on the physical aspect of it, of the body getting through, rather than coming from that place of connection of the breath, the conscious connection, and in some ways control. I don't like the word control too much. I prefer influence, but in this case, it's kind of like having, I guess, or maybe even the capacity to connect and remain connected to your breath consciously throughout the practice. So if you're moving away from that into a place where it's more like a cardio workout and you're not able to, because you're just trying to maintain things, then to me, that's kind of where you need to back
We've lost
off.
the yoga.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The yogic principle of that union, which is the yoking, right? So, so that's definitely a big part of it too, is that the breath is the core. And then from there, the counting. And then beyond that is the actual pose itself.
Yeah.
But the pose is incredibly important as well, because it reflects the sacred geometry connection that we have, which is connected to the divine. As far as that, if you think of kind of divine blueprints, if they're out there, then they're quite obviously in sacred geometry and these recurring shapes and symbols within our history, within our collective being, and also just even within our physical being. Like we have, even if you just kind of bend your finger like that, you start to see the phi ratio spreading out through there, as it is within the arm length and to your torso and things like that. So we're all divinely created from that perspective, if you're looking at the sacred geometry part. So what I love about, I love looking at where the personal can connect to the universal principles, right? So those things that are beyond us, right? In a way, it's those things that we might feel are unattainable, in that they're kind of this perfect realm, like Plato talks about that with the So within those kind of that ideal of the pose, if you think of something that is meant to be like triangle, like that's really, and I love triangle, like as the expression of what it is, both within the sacred geometry of it, but also then within the pose, what that brings to the body. And you talked about it yesterday, just around that tension. I loved how you were guiding that, right? Like you're guiding there's tension between. So this is critical in today as well, just kind of as a side shoot, is just that we really need to remember to maintain the tension between the masculine and feminine, rather than looking for like an equality where masculine and feminine are considered equal, or meant or forced to be equal in some way, in which case that dissolves the tension, which is really the potency or the potential of the transformation that's available within that binary.
Okay, I got to jump in because I've got 15 questions, and that what you just said, then we maintain the tension between this masculine and feminine, because it's not about creating this equality where that tension gets to evaporate. That goes back to the idea when we're in a yoga pose of this effortless effort, of this directionality. Like when you're in a warrior two pose, there's work happening in your body. And if I leave you there for 7 breaths on your right side, because on your left side I've forgotten and I've only left you there for 3 breaths, I'm going to be watching you on Wednesday mornings now, and I'm going to be going, I got to leave him here longer. Lucas is still there. He's still breathing. I got to leave everyone longer. You'll be every class has got a counter. But yeah, that makes so much sense. But when you see people in that pose and they lose their breath, the pose gets tense. It gets unsustainable. It gets rigid. And you can feel a breath constriction. You can see it actually even in people's bodies. And what you're inviting us then is like how it's like if I was to describe that, it'd be like, how do you be in that pose and find the effortlessness in it?
Yep.
And what you're saying is, if you give yourself 7 breaths, you have to, or you can't get to the end of it.
Yeah.
You will not have breath by the time you get to the end of, you won't be able to count to 7
Yeah.
and count 7 breaths because the effort and the tension will have taken over the pose.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for you, you're slowing us down as well. Like you're really taking a class that's like, we're not doing a movement on the inhale, a movement on the exhale, another movement on the inhale, another movement on the exhale. We're not flowing through this in a way that doesn't let us settle in. And maybe that's like, it really does feel like an antidote to society to me, because we live in a world that has this expectation of productivity, and productivity means movement, and movement is effort, and effort is control. I liked how even you said you don't like the word control for breath. Pranayama is breath is prana, but yama is the word restraint. So it's not necessarily control, but it's the ability to restrain, to curate, to evoke or ask your breath to show up a certain way.
There's a direction to it, a direction and purpose to the breath that is like, it's a conscious thing that we're bringing into that, right? So we, with every class, we'll do the intention setting at the beginning, like every one, because then we're getting into also what the number 7 is like is an amplifier as its nature. And so it's really important that the intention be something that resonates for the person that they want to bring forth in their life in a way. And again, we're imbuing that, we're embedding that within through our practice into our being, and also putting it out like that antenna, like, or the other way is like pushing it out into the universe as a signal. So it's vibration. Like everything to me comes down to vibration and resonance at this point. And so that for me really keeps me in the middle path as far as where I land with things. And if I'm not in the middle path, then I just look towards what is the binary that I'm in right now. And that could be a mental one, it could be physical, it could be emotional. And then, so it requires a bit of contemplation, but I think, that's naturally part of who we are. Process because I remember you talked about that with Chelsea, was kind of requiring that time to step back and having that rest that we all need, right? In order to move, like we can never be fully on, we can never be fully off. Like there needs to be that balance in between. So that's kind of where I land with basically with my kind of my life vision now is around that. Yeah.
But there is something around being aware of the tension and not necessarily labeling that, because I think what we do in our society is we make that tension bad. We judge ourselves for feeling it, and then we try and fix it. And there's something different happening in this 7 breath here, where you're not trying to fix that tension anymore.
No.
You're trying to, I don't know, I'm going to say this wrong, but it's not around fixing the tension. It's around being in awareness of it and experiencing it, allowing it to help you build ojas, build capacity. Because it's almost like what we're doing here on the mat in 7 breath would be ojas building, because the tension that you'd experience as you're progressing through 7 breaths of holding a pose, then you take that ability into your real life out in the real world.
Absolutely.
So tell us about that now.
Okay.
How do you personally balance that, the yin and the inspiration and the vibrational sort of side of energy with that yang action, the doing part of life?
Yeah. So that is the part that requires the exploration with curiosity. So without judgment around things as much as we can. But to go back to where they used was fixing, right? And it's like healing is often seen, we want to fix our symptoms. We want to fix the disease. We want to fix things. And to me, that isn't healing. Healing is about becoming whole. And so if you think of the yin and yang, then that outer circle, which is the Tao, which is the path itself, is kind of where I push into. So I look to realize both sides of the binary with the understanding that they are both equal, and the tension resolves itself into a larger. So I love the image of like bubbles in a bubble bath or in a cup of tea or whatever, right? Where you watch them and they'll either pop or they'll join together to make a bigger bubble. So to me, that's kind of what, as we go down the path, we're expanding our awareness. So it's kind of like that bubble in that way, right? So as I've kind of continued with this practice of doing that kind of resolving, and again, that resolving takes a level of acceptance, and definitely forgiveness, compassion, and really truly holding both in truth, like in an authentic way, to not bypass one side or the other, or to think, yeah, I've got this. And because these cycles will come up again if you haven't resolved it, right? Like it'll come up again and again. And it's not to say the problems go away at all, but it's in a way. And this is something I've loved through your podcast, is having the toolkit there, right? So even if it is something that comes from out of left field, right field, wherever it is coming from, that we're going to know that we're going to be okay. And I think that's, and once we know that we feel okay, honestly, like deepest, we no longer need the tools. There's at least that tool, because we've gotten wide enough as far as our awareness and understanding of ourselves and potentially of the world as well, but just within ourselves that we have that inner trust, right? But until we're at that point, then we're looking to put trust onto people and
external.
Yeah, the external. Yeah. Yeah. So it's,
there's a piece of that reconciliation and that tension that feels very like alive right now in our world. And to me, it's because we have continually wrung out any of that feminine influence, and we've relied so heavily on the masculine. And it feels like that masculine structure is kind of at this breaking point where it's no longer able to take responsibility for more because there's nothing left in it.
Yeah.
It's being taxed to the max. And so those of us that are feeling this energy coming in again, it's growing, and it's almost like there's a power and a fierceness in it, demanding like to come back in, knowing that there's some solutions here to our current world situations that lie in this intuitive feminine energy. And our container is just like maxed. It's like that person in the Warrior 2 pose that stopped breathing on their second breath, and they're on breath 7.
Yeah.
And like their body's starting to tremble and shake because there's nothing able to sustain the pose anymore.
Yeah.
The breath is gone from it. And so there's something really intriguing about this modality. I can see it being super important to what is coming for us in helping us build our capacity for allowing that feminine in. It's almost like you're giving us the safe container of a yoga class, poses on a mat, to come and play with how much can you let this feminine energy in? How much can you allow it? How much can you give yourself space to feel it, to understand, am I safe? Am I, can I can I give myself a level of acceptance? Can I have awareness here? Can I seek balance? Can I find the effortless effort, the flowing inside this? But you're giving us a container to practice that. And that's what yoga's always asked us to do. Come here, practice this so that you can take it out into life.
Yeah. And that's something you reiterate a lot, is that, it goes beyond the practice in the studio. It goes into our lives. And so I can see how Ayurveda is very much that piece of like our relationship, as with all the sister sciences, is that they're all about that that integration, that kind of healthy integration of ourselves within the environment. And obviously there's many aspects of that we've lost through societal modeling, I guess. I don't know. I want to choose a nice word.
I know it's
manipulation.
hard.
Manipulation, I think is a fair word to use as well. And we're all doing it to some level, right? And so until we become aware enough that we're like, okay, this is kind of the core thing that needs to change.
When you're this 7 breath, then I feel like it is a yin yang practice equally. Because you've got the pieces, you've created enough place for flow, and yet you've built a container, a structure, even around the labeling of you will stay here for 7 breaths.
Yep.
You've created a structure. And I've read can I call it a manifesto?
Sure.
Like it is, I know. Maybe can I put it in the show notes?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I will put I don't know if I should call it a manifesto.
It's a foundational program.
Thank you.
Feels a bit more neutral, but
yeah. This foundational program, Lucas, the way you write about it is you have such a full understanding of even the most minute detail. And in your writing of it, you've given expression to really tiny, tiny nuances of this. And your expression of that which is often unexpressible in written form is outstanding. So I really encourage everyone to sort of grab that, download it, and start messing with it, because there's something in there in the way you translate it on paper. You have a gift for that, clearly. You can see your marketing background coming out on the...
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that, because that was part of what I wanted to share today, because you're talking about kind of that entry point for 7th breath.
Yeah.
But if the way I landed on it was, or that moment was that that was the right time. It was I had gone through enough practice in my life that I was open, right? It's kind of like no idea is one person's. We're accessing that again on a vibrational frequency, and when we're aligned with it. So time, yes, I'm not going to say that isn't part of it, but it is really comes down to where we are resonating. And for me, that resonance, and of course it comes from my experience as well, through my own journey, fitness training and stuff like that, that there were a lot of different aspects. But to go like far back, my entry point into meditation was when I was 14. And it was during my my family, we'd moved from England to Canada. So we moved to Canada, to Cochrane in 81. And then my parents got divorced in 84. But prior to them divorcing, as a group, they took us into, we didn't really have like a shared religion. My mom's Christian and my dad was more kind of like atheist. But within that process, they took us to this transcendental meditation program. So me at 14, very young, but quite honestly, like just an amazing gift to come out of that, which I would say was kind of the shattering of my perception of true love, which was my mom and dad. And with that, because they were, right? Like, I mean, you grow up with that. There's like I was resting on that. My being was resting on trusting that they were just together, that union, right? And that's where I came from. And so when that split, it was like, devastating for sure. And it definitely affected me for years and years after the fact, as it does with everyone. And especially at that age, because it's such a, like the teen years are challenging on their own. But anyway, so we went through the practice and I had some just amazing experiences. So when with TM, it's a very simple thing, a very simple practice. It is based in Vedic tradition as well. The Maharishi is the one who brought it over, right? So there are these people who have brought these ideas over to Western society. Like Alan Watts is another good example. Sivananda Radha, she was the one who started the Kootenai ashram. So this German lady who came over and totally was immersed in that life, right?
And downloading a version for the society at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, just as far as the TM goes, that was, and so I received my unique mantra, right, which is my own, and I've never shared it with anyone. So having that kind of, it's, that is kind of like the most unseen thing that I carry with me that I know of, but that is unseen by anyone else except for the person who gave it to me, but, um, so, so that the TM really helped me because again, it's a very simple one where you're just sitting and dropping in, like doing that for as many minutes. So up until you're the age of 20, you're basically doing a minute for every year that you're alive. So I was doing 14 minutes and then I do 15 minutes, right? That way. And anyway, so I did, even at that age, I had some pretty amazing experiences.
Yeah.
But that's not to say there's still a lot of things like we deal with, I've been through addictions and I've been through a lot of, depression and anger, especially back in those years. It was like a lot of that kind of lower vibrational stuff that I was personally attached to. But in the end, it's kind of like those are those teachers that when we get into them and allow them in, like truly, and not trying to repress or suppress or do that part, but kind of find our way through them with the right tools, then they transform, right? That's the alchemy that we can experience when we're transforming something and integrating it fully. So I just want to kind of define something because I'd like, this is kind of part of that masculine feminine dialogue is when I sat with the idea of the masculine feminine and that resolving kind of what is the highest masculine that we can go to? What is the highest container that we can go to? So if we say that it's the divine, so if the divine is the one creating the largest container of all of our experiences.
Okay.
Right. So then the feminine is all in any activity. And this is something that Data in his book, books really, he talks about this as being that relationship between that masculine and feminine. So the masculine is the container, and then the feminine is the energy, all energies and activities that flow into that container. We do know, of course, that the unity of that is really the balance of the two, and that they are one and the same, which is the yin yang as well, showing that there's that, there's the potential of the other in each. So we are always like, there is a place for separation. There is a place for that division, if you will, even, and at times we kind of, I have resisted that idea of division because it's like, well, that's the ego. And it's like, and it's trying to clamp down, it's trying to label, it's trying to, but like you've talked about in other podcasts where it's like, those labels give us a way to communicate. They give us a way to connect. But it's like looking at the word tree and thinking that that's a tree. It's not. Like we understand that it's something else, right? So there's layers. There's layers and layers to the masculine, feminine.
There's the idea that it can't be separate, and yoga talks a lot about they use the word Maya for the word illusion, and that word Maya shows up a lot in Sanskrit. Even if they're describing the layers of the body, they'll call it a Maya. That your physical can be separated from your breath, can be separated from your mental, emotional, intuitive side. And I think that's maybe what you're talking about here is that there might be times in your life where you need to lean into those masculine sides, and there's times you need to let yourself oscillate the other way into the feminine. But essentially, they are indivisible. And essentially, they are all part of the whole. And essentially, it is an illusion. All of this is a metaphor.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way that we can understand this bigger concept is by creating a metaphor for ourselves so that we can make sense of something. Yeah.
Well, metaphors are fascinating, and they're kind of one step or aligned with paradox.
Yeah.
And so as soon as we hit paradox, I love it too. And this is why I think Tibetan Buddhism, which is where the structured meditation part for the seventh breath comes in. But Tibetan Buddhism is very much around that, and Zen Buddhism as well, right? Is that idea of putting it into the mind, these paradoxes that don't make sense, they don't resolve.
Yeah.
right? So it's like you're hanging on to this, again, the tension. And what that allows for, again, is a level of expansion within our being that we wouldn't get with the common sense understanding around binaries.
And that therein lies almost the invitation of our current society, invitation of this antidote that you've created here with Seventh Breath is, can we create a life for ourselves where turbulence is just something normal, that it's not something that has to be fixed, that it's not a fault, that it's not a problem in us that needs to be solved, that it's an experience because of the paradox, because of the tension, because of the illusion that we can be separated. And so we come to that sort of, yeah, you've created a tool for us to alchemize on a new level that which we're trying to unpack and understand here today.
Yeah.
And so you've made a tool for us. Tell me how you want people to walk away from this podcast and go start using this tool. What's the invitation you want to give to us?
Well, I feel like, if we're talking kind of, what I think when you were speaking at the beginning, just around, really it's the dance between the masculine and feminine. And I think for every individual, it's about recognizing where you get stuck and why you get stuck. And in a way, there's a time and place for everything. There's a time and place for Mr. Science. There's a time and place for all of the sister sciences. And so I guess what I would say is that finding those practices or philosophies that kind of help you to internally look at what creates a balance for you between the masculine and feminine, meaning that ideally we're going to flow naturally from a masculine state to a feminine state. I mean, we can put aside men and women from this because it comes down to an individual experience, right? So just as, like I said at the beginning, where you're stepping into your masculine to create the space for us to do the podcast, and I'm stepping in a way, my feminine to be in that container and to share my energy and to share my perspectives and things like that. That's my kind of output, which is that feminine aspect, right? So however comfortable I am with that, like, that's my work, right? So where that leads to is the edge that we explore in the physical practice. And with Seventh Breath, that's what I love about it too, is that it allows us to, it allows that time to be able to sink in and explore those edges and really play with that, because that's where the tension is, right? And that is, as we talk about in the classes, especially kind of yin and stuff, where we're doing like hip opening and things like that, where the stories are, right? So when I think back, like when we're babies, we're totally flexible and blah, blah, blah. So this is stored tension that we've created over the years that really kind of sums up to being stored away unresolved masculine and feminine energies that are based on our beliefs. It's based on our emotions, based on traumas, based on what I would consider a smaller masculine container within our energetic being that we are resting on. We're resting on that as if it is a truth.
Yeah.
But it's only a truth within the context of our understanding of it at that time. In the same way that when you go through a trauma, then there's that coping mechanism that kicks in that serves you for a certain amount of time, but eventually it no longer serves. In fact, it can become debilitating. It can be disease causing if you don't explore it again and let it up and let it heal. And by healing again, I mean to become whole, where you let it go and you be like, I don't need this anymore, right? This is kind of what we're doing when we're shifting our behaviors or our beliefs. Really, beliefs are the key part.
And I think then the recognition comes in that that's just life. That's what it means to be human. We will be constantly shifting those beliefs constantly re-examining, constantly being in relationship with them to see if their application is still serving us or if it's causing ama. And that's that word like from Ayurveda, that's just like the gunk in your system that is indigestible.
Yep.
Your body has been unable to process it. And so it just sits taking up room, causing problems, whether it be masculine or feminine, right? Those stories. But once again, it comes down to, can we just accept that as a piece of human experience? And then can we have practices that help us move through this innate human turbulence? And yoga says, yes, we are a practice. And you've said, yes. And I'm going to give you this extra little like piece that I think I've figured out. And I'd like to offer to you. And I think when I read the foundational principles of seventh breath, and then I go back to the beginning of the podcast when you said, I think it was a larger vision. I didn't think it was mine. I think you're right. And probably when you were writing the foundational document, it just flowed out of you with such clarity and ease that you were like, well, there's no way this can be mine, because it would have been way harder if it was mine. This just came to you and you got to then play in it and digest it and realize its potency and power. So now you get to offer it. As part of the lineage of yoga.
Yes, definitely. And again, it's really yoking together these different disciplines together in a way that hasn't been done before. So in a way that is the newness of it, but it's a newness of ancient teachings. So again, a lovely paradox is a lovely.
And that would be the
opposition.
New alchemy. Like if the universe is all about nothing's new, everything's a reinvention. This is a new alchemization of yoga and an offering then that comes at a divine time. And it comes at a divine time. So tell us then, like, how do we take a seventh breath class?
Well, right now I am doing them just, it's once a week, potentially twice a week in the future, but just on the weekends. So Saturday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. is...
Saturday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. at Alchemy Yoga.
In Cochrane. And so I keep the class sizes small to 6 right now. So with myself, it'll be seven beings in the class at a time. And this is really just to allow for really the intimacy of the space at this point. I may think of going with more people, but it's kind of, because I kind of like that idea as well, right? So the more people that are in there, the better. But at this point, so smaller classes and in the hot room. So it's nice. It's a beautiful kind of, there's a beautiful feminine energy to that room.
How do we claim a spot? Do we email you or?
You could. Then I'll just send you to the website.
Oh, okay. It's on the
it's on the website.
It's on the website.
seventhbreathyoga.com.
Okay, so it's at the seventhbreathyoga.com website. Okay. And that's where the registration is.
So there's a few things there. One is the place to book, but then also the waiver and also the foundational PDF, which
it's all in one spot.
It is, so then people can download, and they don't have to they need to sign up to get the foundational PDF, which is free for sure, and then just if they're attending a class, then just doing the waiver thing, because it's separate from alchemy, as it were.
Right. Okay. Amazing, Lucas. Amazing. What a fun chat this is. I want to just ask you, like, what's next for this? When you say this is a vision larger than me, beyond me, talk about that. What's the vision for this?
I think, moving, just keep going with the in-person practices for myself, and building it out that way. I've learned a lot, learning to become a teacher of this kind of unique offering, right? So it's a little bit different than, say, a regular teacher training kind of style. So it's kind of, and also just within my own being as to how that has resonated and what I've needed to kind of work through as well. But I think for the larger picture, I don't know. I'd just love to get people practicing it, whatever it works for yin as well. Like there's many different, and of course the Ashtanga is quite similar in that it has the 5 breath count. But with the 7 and the slower pace, like it's a little different. It's not so much focused on the strength side, although of course you're gaining all of those different aspects with the practice, just from holding poses for longer and things like that. So there's there's that as well. But I feel like, in a way, kind of how this podcast emerged, it's like, I don't know how it's going to fully, and that's the mystery. And I love that. That's fine. So I'm just going to be dedicated to what I do. And, if there's one person in the class or 6 or 20 or whatever, wherever it gets to, and then for the online stuff, eventually, of course, I'd like to expand out to that just to make it more accessible that way.
Absolutely.
So having a foundational course there. So that's in the works right now.
There's something about trusting the process, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
And, like letting yoga do the work, letting yoga find its audience. And I do think there's something around that too, and that's very feminine, around just shining your light so that the people who need that light will find it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's excellent. Anything else you want to leave us with today, Lucas?
I think it would just be that, regardless of kind of what is external to us, doing a practice like seventh breath or any kind of meditation, yoga, it's all going to be beneficial to yourself, to your own journey. The world doesn't have to be falling down in order for us to engage with this. Well, because we're starting from the point that we're at, and we are the change in the world as well. And so as we are transforming our own resonance, our own vibrational state, then that is affecting everyone around us. So it does come down to our personal journey, whatever that is, and that will have a global effect. So, there's many ways up the mountain, and this is one of them. And I'm just very grateful for all of the teachers that I've had, and everything is a teacher. There are the conscious teachers, and then there's the unconscious ones, right? So it's kind of like just working with whatever you've got and working through it and finding those practices and tools as you've been just great in doing and sharing those, what you're doing like that. This is kind of where we need to be moving into. So hopefully seventh breath can become part of that for people as well. Yeah.
What an invitation. And it's almost like the invitation to step into the tension of that Tao yin yang symbol and the path. Step onto your path to like if you're listening today and you're feeling some sort of ideas stirring in you, just allow yourself to be curious about it and allow yourself to continue to explore the idea, even when you don't understand what it is or why it is or what it's telling you, but be in relationship with that idea, because as you give it your time and attention, it shows itself to you.
Yes.
And then it can become something really structural, foundational. You bring it into the masculine and give it form.
Yeah, definitely.
So
like bringing or making sure to connect and allow for that in the intuitive side. And I know something that you talk about a lot as well, which is that's that seed, right?
Yeah.
Like I created that space where that dropped in at the right time. And, thanks to Jody, who was holding that space to begin with, right? So it's like, you can see almost that fractal relationship of teacher and student all the way through.
Yeah.
And how that expands out as well. So,
And this is exactly how each one of us, when we come into our own power, energy, become the change.
Yep.
Oh gosh. Thank you for the conversation, Lucas, and thank you for the insight. Thank you for what you dedicated your time and energy doing, because you have brought us as a collective, as a community, a gift. And it's a divinely inspired gift that has perfect timing in our world today.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's a gift to be shared. So that's the goal now.
So let's share it. Let's share it.
Thanks,
Thank
Jill.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Sister Science Stories. In my favorite quote, Eckhart Tolle says, "Awareness is the greatest agent of change." I hope that being here opens up your awareness to a new way of knowing and thinking, a keen discernment, already creating change in you. The curiosity to experiment with new practices, it builds capacity and it grows your ability to live with intention, and this equates to good health. If you want support and community as you embrace this idea, drop into sisterscience.ca. Learn more and sign up for what supports the version of you ready and yearning to show up next. Change starts when you do. So don't wait to take this next step, because a juicy life is waiting.